Hello everybody and welcome to our webinar on nature and wildlife with the Costa Rica Tourism Board. This webinar is part of Pura Vida Week with Costa Rica in association with TTG, which you can find out more on at ttgmedia.com/Costa Rica. I am Maddie Barber, the Special Projects Editor at TTG Media, and I'm joined today by Daniel Turner, who is Director at Animondial, which is an organisation that advises travel businesses on how to improve animal protection and deliver meaningful change. So thank you for joining me, Daniel. And I'm also joined by Zishan Rashid, who is the Senior UK Sales and Marketing Manager for the Costa Rica Tourism Board. So thank you to you also, Zishan, for joining. During this webinar, we'll be doing two presentations for you. I say we, Daniel and Zishan will. Daniel is going to share a presentation on the importance of protecting animals in the tourism industry and how to do just that, as well as how you can support tourism's nature positive approach to achieving net zero. Zishan will be sharing a presentation on how Costa Rica is using tourism to protect nature, as well as the iconic wildlife encounters in the country and when it's best to experience them so that your clients can make sure they're having the best time in destination. Before we get started with the presentations though, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, Zishan. Why is nature and wildlife an important topic to focus on when it comes to selling holidays to Costa Rica?
Hi, Maddie. It's an important topic because it's part of the Costa Rica DNA. I think when people come to Costa Rica, what they associate the country with is its flora and fauna, and it's a big part of what we promote. We call it Mother Nature's playground because there's a lot of activities and experiences here that are nature-led, and it's all about what you can do and see in Costa Rica.
Okay, great. So before we get started, let's just take a look at a few of these incredible Costa Rican experiences and what they look like on camera. Okay, brilliant. So Daniel, let's hear from you on why it's important to safeguard animals in tourism and how agents can go about supporting that. Would you like to take it away with your presentation?
Thanks, Maddie. Hi, I'm Daniel Turner from the travel and tourism consultancy focused on nature and animal protection. Today, I really want to talk to you about the value of biodiversity and why it's so important to the travel sector. Today, we're focused on Costa Rica, but whether you're visiting Costa Rica or another Latin American country, or indeed any country around the world, as travel providers, you already value nature and its wildlife and what it uniquely brings to the destinations that we love to visit. But through this presentation, I also would like to explain why we need to have greater value, put greater value on biodiversity, and how specifically travel and tourism can become a force for good and to better protect it. With the majority of the global human population now living in urban centres, largely disconnected from nature, many have lost touch with its relevance and importance. As businesses in global travel and tourism, we have an opportunity to bring people closer to nature to appreciate it and respect it, to better care for it. But we also have an opportunity to celebrate the huge biodiversity, the whole plethora of different types of animal species that you see when you visit these countries, and become drivers for change. Nature is the very fabric on which all life is based. It includes the living components, such as the plants and the animals, and then the non-living components, such as soil and air and water. Consider this as like a jigsaw puzzle of many pieces, fitting succinctly together and reliant on each other to provide that complete picture. It is the interaction between the living components that we often refer to as biodiversity and the non-living components that generates the energy and powers the ecosystem. Ecosystems provide everything that provides us good health, happiness, and prosperity. It provides our food, fresh water, materials, medicines. It regulates the climate, our clean air, and protects us from emergent disease. But where do we, you, me, and the 7.8 billion people on Earth, where do we fit in? Well, we are the 1.8 million recorded species of animal. And like other animals, we're very much reliant on nature and its biodiversity. In fact, we can't survive without it. And there is an estimate value generation of 44 trillion US dollars that really demonstrates how much nature supports everything that we need to live. But unfortunately, human activities can also have a negative impact on this natural world. Natural land is being degraded through encroachment, construction, and agriculture, with 70% of wild land and 2/3 of the ocean now altered due to damaging activity. Humans are now consuming more natural resources than the world can generate, and we're losing species, animals and plants at a rate 1,000 times greater than any other time in recorded human history. An estimate of 1 million species now face extinction. This immense loss of nature and biodiversity is obviously a massive loss for us and the world, but it also reduces nature's natural ability to absorb and store carbon, which is seen as a solution to climate change. Whilst the overexploitation of wildlife that remains, such as hunting and illegal wildlife trade, exposes humans to new pathogens and potential disease pandemics. There is now no doubt planetary health, biodiversity, animal welfare, emergent disease, and climate change are all interconnected and stem from the often exploitative human activity on the natural world. Recognizing that travel and tourism already values nature and what it uniquely brings to the destination and your excursion portfolios, it is in a powerful position to bring greater value to animals and nature, encouraging communities and their governments to better protect these natural assets and to support animal-friendly, nature-positive tourism. So how can we do that? And what elements can travel and tourism bring to this global endeavor? Well, if tourism has a degree of mismanagement on the resources that it uses and the activities it has with animal and nature, it does have an impact on nature and its biodiversity. So ultimately, there is a need to assess your activities and your dependencies on nature, and where possible to reduce that impact. Once you've reduced your impact, then you need to have a look at your portfolios and your activities within the destinations to see how you can restore nature. And I truly believe, but by working with local communities, governments, DMOs within those destinations, you can bring genuine nature-friendly tourism and ultimately have less of a dependency on nature and less of an impact on nature. So what do we encourage travel and tourism to do? Well, first of all, you need to have a commitment to better protect animals and nature in the destinations that you visit. Assess your excursions and ensure that your products are as animal and nature friendly as possible. Assess your operations and your supply chain and minimize whatever negative impact on nature and animals that you identify. Work with the destinations because quite often, or most of the time, they understand the challenges, the solutions to those challenges, and can help you mitigate any impacts that you may have. Invest in the local community and encourage local people who live alongside wildlife to value it and better protect it. All these elements will put nature on the path to recovery and ultimately save nature to save ourselves. Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Daniel. And I'm assuming the photos on the last slide with the sloth in a bow is what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an example of one of those negative activities that should really be removed from itineraries, because A, it sends the wrong message, but B, those individual animals are really overexploited. They have a massive negative impact on their welfare needs. So definitely is an example of what not to do.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay then, so Zishan, it's time to hand over to you and to focus on how Costa Rica is protecting nature through tourism, and as well as the best times and places to have the country's best nature and wildlife experiences. So please do take it away.
Thank you, Maddie. So in this presentation, we're going to be discussing the wildlife that tourists want to see in Costa Rica and that important question, where and when can they find them? Something we say when deciding when to go to Costa Rica is that the question shouldn't be when is the best weather. It's about, the question should be when is the best time to see that particular wildlife that you want to see. So before we begin, let's watch a quick video featuring some of our Costa Rican friends. So Costa Rica translated means rich coast, and rich in biodiversity it is. We have 6.5% of the world's biodiversity, so that's more than 500,000 animals and plant species. Flora, fauna is everywhere, and that is due to the efforts put in place to protect the flora and fauna. So how do we protect them? Well, it's by making 28% of the land national parks, wildlife areas, and bioreserves. And in these parks, wildlife areas, and bioreserves is where visitors will come and see what Costa Rica has to offer. But like I always say, that wildlife is everywhere in the rich coast, and sometimes you don't even have to leave your bedroom to see or hear. So let's start with a map of Costa Rica, because I want to highlight some of the key areas before I begin to talk about where you can see the wildlife. And before I do that, I just want to point out that this map is actually from our supplement that's coming on the TTG Costa Rica Hub this week, along with some key facts to help sell the destination with confidence. So do download that supplement. Let's start with the Caribbean coast. And here in Tortuguero, so translated land of turtles, this area is surrounded by waterways. So you stay in an eco lodge in the middle of the rainforest surrounded by waterways, and you'll find a lot of reptiles and turtles around here. And then you go into the middle of the country to the La Fortuna area, which translated means the fortune, because the soil is very fertile. And next to Arenal, you'll find Monteverde, which is a cloud rainforest. And the cloud rainforest is home to approximately 3,000 different plant species, over 100 mammal species, 400 species of birds, and 161 amphibians. I'm not going to name them all, but maybe that'll be another webinar some other time. And then another cloud rainforest in Costa Rica is San Grado de Rota down south. And similar to Monteverde, but different because a very special bird species can be found here, which I'll come on to in my slides later on. And then let's go over to the Pacific. So Manuel Antonio is the smallest national park in Costa Rica. However, it's the most popular because it's rich in wildlife. And 1 hour away is Uvita, and here you'll find Marina Ballena National Park, which is a whale national park. So I wonder what you can find here. But what's really interesting about this national park is that the coastline is a natural whale tail, and it just happens to be where all the whales come. And then finally, we go all the way down south to the Osa Peninsula, which is quite infamous at the moment. So we have 6.5% of the world's biodiversity, and 3% can be found here in Osa. National Geographic described this area as the most biologically intense place on Earth, and it's actually one of David Attenborough's favorite places to visit, and it's featured on Blue Planet and Green Planet countless times. The national park in Osa Peninsula is called Corcovado National Park. So now let's talk about some of those creatures and animals that everyone wants to see and know where you can see them. So let's begin with the infamous sloth. So we are one of the few countries that has both the two-toed and three-toed sloth. And you can honestly find them all over Costa Rica. The only place you probably most likely not find them is in the North Pacific, so the Guanacaste area. But that you might see one or two, but the rest of the country, really, you can just find sloth everywhere. But the key is to look up really high, because they tend to stay high up in the trees, and they only come down once a week. But the tour guides in Costa Rica are experts, and they can spot a sloth a mile away. We are home to 4 different species of monkeys. So the white-faced, howler, squirrel, and spider monkey. Although the spider monkeys are more often seen in Manuel Antonio and Corcovado National Park, the white-faced howler monkeys and squirrel can be seen all year round throughout Costa Rica. So the white-faced monkeys are personally my favorite, and the best way to see them, I recommend, is to do a mangrove tour, which you can do around most national parks in the country. The mangrove tour allows you to get really up and close to the flora and fauna. And the white-faced monkeys are quite cheeky by nature, so they like to peek out the bushes and then try to play tricks, or just like to grab your attention as you're going through. So it's a great way to see them. But also, if you're staying in Tortuguero, there's a lot of white-faced monkeys around there, and you'll just generally see them around your eco lodge or while you're having lunch or dinner, just kind of like walking past. Howler monkeys, you will hear them before you see them. They're very small, but very, very loud, and you think they're standing right next to you, even though they may be miles away. Again, the best way to see them or hear them is doing a mangrove tour. But in North Pacific, in the Guanacaste area, they tend to hang around near the hotels quite often, so you don't actually need an alarm clock, because they'll wake you up. So we have 4 species of turtles, and I think a lot of people know Costa Rica for the turtle nesting season. So we have leatherback, green turtles, Oliver Ridley, and hawksbill. So leatherback turtles can be seen on both sides of the coast, so the Caribbean from March to July, and the Pacific from September to March. The endangered green turtles are what most people associate turtle nesting within Costa Rica, and they can only be seen in Tortuguero. And it's an amazing experience. So from May to October, the female turtles arrive to lay their eggs, and they've only been to Costa Rica once before, when they hatched and they left, and then only the females then arrive many, many years later to lay their eggs. And it's an amazing experience, and it's in pitch black because there can't be any light. You have to wear black, and you just sit on the beach and wait for their arrival. And so I definitely recommend if you or your clients traveling to Costa Rica May to October, to include this activity. And as like Daniel was saying, everything is working with the local area and making sure that the turtle safety is the most important. And then Oliver Ridleys can be found along the Pacific coast, and they nest all throughout the year, and they're quite commonly seen. And then the hawksbills you can find on the Caribbean side at Cojito National Park during September and October. And then we go down to Marina Ballena National Park, where the natural whale tail coast is. So a fun fact is that Costa Rica has the longest whale migratory season. So you can almost see whales all year round. From December to March, and then August to October, humpback whales call the warm South Pacific waters home. And I've been out in September, where September is a good time to kind of go out and see the whales, because that's when they're teaching their offsprings to swim. So I've been in situations where I was surrounded by 2 mother whales teaching their offsprings to swim. And it was the most incredible experience. And then the guide, you don't get up close to the whales, because obviously you want to protect the whales and let them teach their offsprings. But then once you see that, then they kind of take you away, where you can jump into the warm Pacific water, and sometimes you see some turtles just swimming past you while you're swimming in the sea. And then there are over 850 species of birds in Costa Rica. The largest diversity of birds is found during September and October, and then again in March and April. However, most tropical birds, such as the macaws and the toucans, can be found all year round. There are over 50 different species of hummingbirds, and the best place to see hummingbirds is in Monteverde cloud rainforest. So Monteverde has a lot of orchids because of the humid environment, which attracts hummingbirds and butterflies. So you're always surrounded by hummingbirds and butterflies as you're kind of trekking through the cloud rainforest. And then the other cloud rainforest, San Gradidota, is a great place to see the quetzalbird. So the quetzalbird are these small, tiny birds. They're not native to Costa Rica, but they are called the beauty of Costa Rica. And the best place to see them is at their own national park, which is right next to San Gradidota. So it's the Quetzal National Park. And you have to wake up really early in the morning before sunrise, get up to the highest part of the national park, and you just sit and wait, and hopefully they'll turn up. And they like to come to the avocado trees in the morning, so that's kind of where you wait, around the avocado trees. And we were there for 3 hours, and when we were just about to give up, after 3 hours, 4 came in a row. Very hard to capture because they're very quick. So if you do ever get a picture, do share it with us. And then if your clients are really into scuba diving and kind of the marine life, all of the Pacific is great for scuba diving and to see the marine life, and it's generally quite rich in marine life. However, down south near Osa, there is Isla de Cano, so a small island called Cano Island, and it's a great place to go for scuba diving. And here you can find tropical fish, octopus, barracudas, various ray fishes, sea turtles, but also sharks, so such as the white-tipped reef shark, bull shark, whale sharks, and occasionally the hammerhead shark. So it is ready for someone that is an expert scuba diver to go down here, but I definitely recommend. Otherwise, if they're not expert scuba divers and they just want to kind of explore the coast, then maybe more North Pacific. And that was a very quick snapshot of just a touch of some of the wildlife you can see in Costa Rica. But if you want to learn more about the wildlife in Costa Rica, I recommend to take our online training course for agents called Pura Vida University. So it's www.puravidauniversity.co.uk, where you can learn more about the wildlife that Costa Rica has to offer.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ishan. There's so many amazing wildlife experiences to be had in Costa Rica. I mean, I know agents can show their clients about it and they're all going to be wild, I can just tell. So thank you so much for your presentation, and also thank you to Daniel for yours. Really great to get an insight into protecting animals in tourism. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in to watch today. And don't forget to come back tomorrow to teachmedia.com/Costa Rica to watch our next webinar of the Pura Vida Week series. Our other themes are accommodation, touring and sustainability, plus an introduction to selling Costa Rica. So plenty to watch there and plenty to learn. So thank you again and take care.